You think being helpful makes people respect you. You think being available makes people value you. You think being generous makes people appreciate you. Here's the brutal truth that's going to shatter your worldview. The more you do for people, the less they think of you. And every single day, you're training people to treat you like their personal servant without even realizing it. There are 10 specific things you're probably doing right now that are destroying your self-respect, killing your boundaries, and turning you into everyone's favorite doormat. These aren't just bad habits. These are psychological patterns that signal to everyone around you that your time, energy, and dignity are worthless. But here's what's going to blow your mind. The ancient Stoics figured this out 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus. These weren't just philosophers. They were men who commanded respect without begging for it. They understood something that modern people have completely forgotten. Respect isn't earned through service, it's commanded through boundaries. Today, I'm going to show you the 10 things you need to stop doing immediately if you want people to start treating you like someone who matters instead of someone who exists to make their lives easier. And I'm warning you, when you stop doing these things, some people are going to hate you for it. Good. That means you're finally growing a backbone. The first thing you need to stop doing is explaining yourself to people who didn't ask for an explanation. Every time you justify your decisions, defend your choices, or provide a dissertation about why you can't do something, you're basically announcing to the world that you don't believe you have the right to make your own decisions. According to Dr. Robert Cialdini's research in Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion, over-justification actually weakens your position by giving others multiple points to argue against. Listen to yourself next time someone asks you for something you don't want to do. Instead of just saying no, you probably launch into a detailed explanation. Well, I would love to help, but I have this thing, and then there's this other situation, and I'm really sorry, but maybe next time. Stop, just stop. You sound like you're asking permission to have your own life. Here's what happens when you over-explain. You give people ammunition to argue with your decision. Every reason you provide becomes a problem they can solve, an obstacle they can remove, or a weakness they can exploit. Oh, you're busy with work. This will only take 5 minutes. You're tired? Come on, don't be lazy. You have plans? Cancel them. This is important. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." But every time you explain yourself to people who don't respect your autonomy, you're giving them power over your decisions. You're teaching them that your no is actually a maybe if they can just find the right argument. Strong people don't explain their boundaries, they enforce them. The second thing you need to stop doing is being everyone's free therapist. You know what I'm talking about. You're the person everyone calls when they need to vent, complain, or dump their emotional baggage. And you sit there listening to the same problems over and over again, offering advice that they never take, becoming a human trash can for other people's negativity. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that emotional contagion is real. We literally absorb the emotions of people around us. Most people don't want solutions to their problems. They want an audience for their drama. They don't call you because you give great advice. They call you because you're reliable, available, and you won't tell them what they don't want to hear. You've become their emotional support animal, not their friend. But here's what's really happening to your mental health. Every time you absorb someone else's negativity, you're contaminating your own mindset. You start your day feeling good. Then after 3 phone calls from people complaining about their lives, you feel drained, frustrated, and pessimistic. Their problems become your problems. Their stress becomes your stress. Their chaos becomes your chaos. Seneca understood this perfectly. He wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." But you can't begin to build your own mental strength if you're constantly carrying other people's emotional weight. The solution is simple but brutal. Stop being available for every emotional crisis. When someone starts dumping their problems on you, redirect them. That sounds tough. What are you going to do about it? Don't offer solutions. Don't absorb their emotions. Don't become their unpaid therapist. The third thing you need to stop doing is lending money and doing favors for people who never return the gesture. You know these people. They're always broke when the bill comes, always need help moving, always have emergencies that require your time or money. But when you need something, they're suddenly busy, broke, or have convenient amnesia about all the times you helped them. Studies in social psychology, particularly the work of Dr. Adam Grant at Wharton, who show that givers who don't set boundaries end up at the bottom of success metrics. Here's what you're actually doing when you keep helping people who don't help you back. You're training them to see you as a resource, not a person. You're teaching them that your time has no value, your money has no worth, and your generosity has no limits. You've become their personal ATM and unpaid assistant. But here's the psychology behind why this destroys your relationships. When you give without receiving, you create an imbalanced dynamic where they feel entitled to your help and you feel resentful about their selfishness. They start expecting your generosity instead of appreciating it. You start feeling used instead of valued. The relationship becomes transactional but only in one direction. Epictetus, who was literally a slave before becoming a philosopher, understood this better than anyone. He taught that you can't control other people's actions, but you can control your responses. When you keep giving to people who only take, you're choosing to be enslaved by their selfishness. The Stoic approach is reciprocity-based generosity. Help people who help others, lend money to people who pay it back, do favors for people who return them. The fourth thing you need to stop doing is apologizing for taking up space in the world. You apologize for your opinions, your needs, your presence, your very existence. Sorry to bother you. Sorry for asking. Sorry I'm here. Stop apologizing for being human. You have just as much right to exist as anyone else. Research from Harvard Business School shows that unnecessary apologies actually decrease perceived competence and leadership potential. Every unnecessary apology is a small act of self-betrayal. You're telling the world that your presence is an inconvenience, your needs are burdens, and your thoughts are probably wrong. You're training people to see you as someone who doesn't deserve respect because you clearly don't respect yourself. The fifth thing you need to stop doing is seeking validation from people who don't even like you. You're constantly trying to prove your worth to people who have already decided you're not worth their time. You change your opinions based on who's in the room. You laugh at jokes that aren't funny. You agree with things you don't believe. You're performing a version of yourself that you think others will approve of. But here's what Marcus Aurelius knew that you're still learning. External validation is a drug that never satisfies. The more you seek approval from others, the less you approve of yourself. The more you try to be liked by everyone, the less you like who you're becoming. You become addicted to other people's opinions while losing touch with your own values. The sixth thing you need to stop doing is always saying yes to every request. You've become the person everyone knows will never say no. Need someone to work late? Ask them. Need someone to cover a shift? They'll do it. Need someone to take on extra responsibilities without extra pay? Perfect candidate right there. According to research by Dr. Vanessa Bones at Cornell University, people systematically underestimate how hard it is for others to say no to requests. You think you're being helpful, but you're actually training people to see you as someone with no priorities, no boundaries, and no life outside of serving their needs. Every automatic yes is a betrayal of your own time and energy. When you always say yes, your yes becomes worthless. People stop appreciating your help because they know it's guaranteed. They stop considering whether their request is reasonable because they know you'll agree anyway. You become the path of least resistance, not a valued team member or friend. The seventh thing you need to stop doing is avoiding conflict at all costs. You'd rather be miserable than make someone else uncomfortable. You bite your tongue when people disrespect you. You smile when you want to scream. You agree when you want to argue. You think you're keeping the peace, but you're actually teaching people that your feelings don't matter. Research in organizational psychology shows that conflict avoidance leads to decreased job satisfaction, lower performance, and increased stress-related health problems. Here's the brutal truth about conflict avoidance. It doesn't prevent conflict, it just delays it. And when conflict finally erupts, it's 10 times worse because you've been suppressing your feelings for so long. People don't respect peacekeepers. They respect people who stand up for themselves. When you avoid every difficult conversation, you're not being kind. You're being cowardly, and everyone can sense it. The eighth thing you need to stop doing is taking responsibility for other people's emotions. Someone's upset? You immediately assume it's your fault someone's having a bad day? You feel obligated to fix it. Someone's disappointed? You scramble to make them feel better, even when their disappointment has nothing to do with you. Dr. Harriet Lerner's research on emotional responsibility shows that taking on others' emotions actually prevents them from developing emotional resilience. You think you're being caring, but you're actually enabling emotional immaturity. You're teaching people that their feelings are your responsibility, which means your feelings become nobody's responsibility. When you constantly manage other people's emotions, you lose touch with your own. You become so focused on everyone else's emotional state that you forget you have feelings too. You become an emotional caretaker instead of an equal participant in relationships. The ninth thing you need to stop doing is giving unsolicited advice and help. You see someone struggling and immediately jump in to fix their problem. You offer solutions they didn't ask for. You help with tasks they didn't request assistance with. You think you're being thoughtful, but you're actually being presumptuous. Studies in social psychology show that unsolicited help often makes people feel incompetent and creates resentment rather than gratitude. When you constantly offer help that wasn't requested, you're sending the message that you don't think the other person is capable of handling their own life. You're positioning yourself as the rescuer and them as the victim. This creates an unhealthy dynamic where people either become dependent on your constant intervention or start avoiding you because they feel judged and inadequate around you. Real kindness sometimes means letting people figure things out for themselves. The 10th thing you need to stop doing is accepting disrespectful treatment silently. Someone interrupts you, you just stop talking. Someone takes credit for your work, you say nothing. Someone makes a joke at your expense, you laugh along. You think you're being the bigger person, but you're actually teaching people that disrespecting you has no consequences. Research from the University of California shows that people who don't respond to disrespectful treatment are more likely to experience it repeatedly. Silence in the face of disrespect isn't noble, it's permission. Every time you let someone treat you poorly without consequences, you're training them to do it again. The Stoics understood that self-respect requires action, not just internal acceptance. When you accept disrespectful treatment silently, you're not practicing patience, you're practicing self-abandonment. Here's what's going to happen when you stop doing these 10 things. At first, people are going to be confused and probably angry. They're used to you explaining yourself, absorbing their problems, giving without receiving, apologizing for existing, seeking their validation, saying yes to everything, avoiding conflict, managing their emotions, offering unsolicited help, and accepting their disrespect. When you suddenly start acting like someone who values themselves, they're going to push back hard. Some people will call you selfish for having boundaries. Others will say you've changed, that you're not the same person. They're right, you're not the same person. You're no longer their emotional support system, their free bank, their unpaid therapist, their validation dispenser, their automatic yes person, their conflict avoider, their emotional manager, their unsolicited helper, or their punching bag. You're finally becoming someone who respects themselves enough to demand respect from others. But here's the beautiful part. The people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. They'll appreciate that you're no longer a pushover. They'll value your time more because it's no longer unlimited. They'll treasure your help because it's no longer guaranteed. Your relationships will become healthier because they'll finally be balanced. The Stoics understood that self-respect isn't selfish. It's essential. You can't give what you don't have. If you don't respect yourself, you can't teach others to respect you. If you don't value your time, no one else will. If you don't protect your energy, everyone will drain it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does." Stop worrying about what others think of your boundaries. Stop explaining your decisions to people who don't respect them anyway. Stop being everyone's solution and start being your own priority. If you're ready to stop being everyone's doormat and start commanding the respect you deserve, subscribe to this channel. Keep checking back for more videos. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 10 things you struggle with most. The most honest responses will help me create content that actually changes lives instead of just getting views.